Hello, I'm Searcy. Welcome to this week's edition of Bred to Win. Coming up on the show in our Allsource news, more stallion fee announcements and plenty of other info from the bloodstock world. Thoroughbred Breeders Australia has a range of initiatives aimed at helping big breeders and small. And this week we catch up with TBA CEO Tom Reilly to hear the latest. And the Australian Racing Chaplaincy does a wonderful job helping those in the racing and breeding industry in need. We catch up with long-time racing fan Colin in Arrowfield Studs, the horse who made you love racing. First though, the big money paid at the recent yearling sales and racetrack success have had a big impact on the new season stallion fees. We hear the latest in Allsource News. With the Inglis Easter yearling sale over, Australian stud farms are continuing to lock in stallion service fees with some big hikes for those who've excelled in recent months. Arrowfield Stud's four-time champion stallion Snitzel has returned to his pre-COVID service fee of $220,000 for season 2022. Having been represented this season by Group 1 winners in the Congo, Wild Ruler and Yearning. With triple Group 1 winning colt Hitotsu and four-time stakes winner Mazu flying the flag, Japanese champion Maurice is the other major mover on the Arrowfield roster, with his fee almost doubling and up to $82,500 this coming spring. And Maurice features as our G1 Goldmine analysis of the week, with his yearling selling for up to $500,000 at an average of over $190,000. The son of screen hero, whose dam sire is Sunday Silence, is from a mare by Sadler's Wells' son Carnegie and is building up a hugely versatile record as a stallion with winners from 1,200 to 2,600 metres. The best nicks found to work with Maurice are Northern Dancer at 100% strike rate, while Sire rates at 50%, as does Halo, of course the sire of Sunday Silence. Newgate Farms Young Gun Extreme Choice has had a whopping fee increase and will stand this coming season at a fee of $275,000, while Barnmate Russian Revolution is up to $71,500 this year. Darley Stud has announced the fees for its 18 stallions on the Australian roster. Incredibly, all of them are Group 1 winners. Exceed and Excel stars at $132,000, with stakes performers continuing to rack up for the son of Danehill, including September Run in this year's William Reid Stakes. Street Boss, now standing at Kelvinside in New South Wales, is up to $77,000, in particular as the sire of this season's Caulfield and Rosehill Guineas winner and Cox Plate runner-up Animo. Their three new European sires include Pinatubo, a son of Shamadal, who'll stand for $55,000. Kingman's son Palace Pier, winner of 5 Group 1s, including the Queen Anne and St James's Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot, will also stand at $55,000. While another son of Shamadal, Victor Ladorum, the winner of the Jean-Luc Lagardère and the French 2000 Guineas, has had his fee set at $24,750. Vinery Stud has announced an increase in the fee for All Too Hard after the great success in particular of his triple Group 1 winning daughter Forbidden Love, while his son Wellington scored another Hong Kong Group 1 on Sunday in the Chairman's Sprint Prize. The four-time Group 1 winning half-brother to Black Caviar will stand for $38,500, while Star Turn has also had his fee increased to $27,500. Victoria's Swettenham Stud has announced the arrival of the exciting son of Wootton Bassett, Wooded, for 2022. A winner of the Group 1 Prix l'Abbaye with a remarkable 62 kilos, Wooded was secured by Swettenham's Adam Sangster, given the great relationship with Al Shakab, who also stand their successful dual hemisphere stallion Toronado. Wooded will stand his first Southern Hemisphere season at a fee of $22,000. The Inglis Melbourne Gold Sale was topped by a daughter of Frosted, with a filly from the Bellesprit mare True Priority sold by Supreme Thoroughbreds for $150,000. She was bought by Brian Hall, Intel Bloodstock and 888 Racing. The exciting offering at this week's Inglis Digital Late April sale includes the Arrowfield Stud mare reduction, with mares of the calibre of Lucky Racky available, a daughter of Redute's Choice's full sister Monsoon Wedding, offered in foal to Maurice. And the Lloyd Williams team is offering 11 lots in the Hudson Conway draft, including Adelaide Cup winner King of Leogrants. The sale wraps up on Wednesday, April 27. The Magic Millions broodmare sale catalogue was released during the week, while a supplementary lot who will create plenty of interest is the American mare Lighthouse, winner of the 2022 Coolmore Classic. Other star mares include four-time Group 1 winner Tofane and Natoya, who's in foal to Capitalist, while there are 15 mares in foal to Frankel to Southern Hemisphere time, and 18 offerings by current leading Australian sire So You Think. Looking at Saturday's racing, and it was the big Vobis Gold Day of racing at Caulfield in Melbourne with the Showdown, the $1 million feature.
The King's Consort's flying. Bellow Bow at the 100, grabbed by King's Consort over the top. King's Consort's going to win it. King's Consort.
It was won by King's Consort, bought by trainer Anthony Friedman for $32,000 from the Leneva Park draft at the Adelaide Magic Millions sale, and maintaining the speed and rich chestnut colouring of his sire line through Magic Albert and Sedative. King's Consort sire I Love This City is now located at Nora Lane Farm at Euroa in Victoria and stood last year at a fee of $8,800. The Vobis sire's guineas went the way of Chartres, a striking looking son of Swettenham Stud's Tornado. He's a homebred for well-known pedigree analyst Kristen Manning and partners from the Dylan Thomas mare, the French House. Tornado's had a wonderful season, including the Galaxy win of Shelby 66 and Masked Crusader and Still a Star, both also group winning representatives.
Extreme Warrior moves up and takes Sword of Mercy.
Already secured by Rosemont Farm for stallion duties this spring, Extreme Warrior added the listed Bella Spree stakes to his resume before retirement. In the week, Black Caviar's sire Bella Spree was retired himself from stud duties. Extreme Warrior added to the small but elite honour roll of his sire Extreme Choice. He was bought for $160,000 from Glenlogan Park's Magic Millions draft by Mick Price and Dermot Farrington. And regards, Maurice's win in the $250,000 Vobis Gold Sprint helped his sire So You Think remain at the top of the Australian sires list for another week. He was an Inglis Premier yearling sold by Hillside Thoroughbreds for $70,000. The Inglis graduate of the week is the remarkable mare Bella Vella, who's had more comebacks than John Farnham. Bought by Will Clark and for $22,500 through the Inglis digital platform, she was covered by the Fertility Challenge criterion and failed to get in foal. She returned to win the Group 1 Robert Sangster Stakes in Adelaide before being sold for $1.9 million at last year's Gold Coast National Broodmare sale. Again retired but failing to get in foal to I Am Invincible, the Command's mare returned to training, and on Saturday Rosemont Stud's decision was vindicated as she beat Instant Celebrity and Trekking in the R.N. Irwin Stakes at Morfettville, and she'll be heading back to the Sangster Stakes next month. She was sold as a yearling through Magic Millions, but the incredible return from the $22,500 Inglis digital sale is a wonderful success story for all involved. And a fun news topic to end with, the Thoroughbred Sport Horse Association's first Fashions on the Field competition with junior and adult classes saw competitors going to some great effort to mirror a winning owner in racewear leading in their thoroughbred on a racetrack. The winners were Isabella Smith with Via Khan or Le Petit Prince by Dalakani from Vedanta from a great Aga Khan family, while the adult class was won by Alana Smith and Dream Higher or Madam Butterfly by the Danzig stallion Foxhound. We'll have a full story on this great fun option for thoroughbreds when Thoroughbreds Argo returns to Sky Thoroughbred Central on Monday, May 9. Time for a break. On Bred to Win, coming up, the latest work being done by Thoroughbred Breeders Australia to help breeders around the country, and the Cambridge Stud Performance of the Week. The Cambridge Stud Performance of the Week yet again features the Magic Tavistock Zabeel Cross, made so famous through this historic New Zealand nursery.
But Pinarello went bang at the 100.
Pinarello won the Trelawney Stud Championship Stakes at Pukekohe, being by the late son of Montjeur, while Pinarello's dam Zonza by Zabeel has also produced stakes winners Vanaza and Bavella, who've raced in the Lindsay's Cambridge Stud checked colours.
Raced by Brendan and Joe Lindsay. They bred him out of Zonza, the Zabeel mare, and he has bolted in.
While some important initiatives of thoroughbred breeders Australia have been put on the back burner during COVID, such as the annual get-together with Prime Ministers and other federal politicians at Parliament House in Canberra, plenty of work has been going on behind the scenes. I caught up with TBA CEO Tom Reilly at the recent Inglis Easter yearling sale to hear the latest.
Gives the big salute. She bolts in wings. And Fireburn charges home and gives Gary Portelli second golden sliver.
Tom, it's a new year. Thoroughbred Breeders Australia and Allsource, there's plenty of work going on behind the scenes. I guess one of the most visible things in recent years has been the fast-track training program for young people coming into the breeding industry. What are the plans for 2022?
Yeah, well, Caroline, look, it's great to be here at the Easter sale, because walking around and seeing some of the graduates from the previous programmes. So the fast tracks, we're actually just at the point now of offering places in the 5th intake, and we're going to take up to 20 young trainees, and we've got a really strong bunch of applicants this year from right around the country. And I imagine we'll have placements on farms in at least 4 different states across Australia. So it's exciting, and that will kick off. So the trainees will start towards the end of May.
So anyone that's interested, I mean, these young people, there are a lot of people that want to get in and they're like, oh, I haven't really done that much horse handling, or I don't come from a horsey background. I mean, this is what the course is for. I mean, also people that do have some experience, but you can come in and really get into this sort of thing and learn so much. So
we've had 4 intakes now, and every year we've taken someone with almost no hands-on experience, but they've said, look, I'm really interested in the industry. I follow racing, I follow pedigrees, I want to get involved. And actually one of those from the first intake is now on a Godolphin flying start. So, we've had some great young people come through that way. We also have a lot of people who, may have done pony club or, other sort of horse activities, non-racing involved, but say, look, I really want a job with horses. They've seen the program, they've seen that it's a great opportunity to learn as well as to get a job on a respected farm, and they come through that way.
And another great initiative, again, about the people in the industry is the Stud Staff Support Line. And it's brilliant seeing all the little flyers up all around the place. And it's a really important thing. I mean, we've lost some people from the industry, sadly, in recent times. Just explain to people, if someone's, having a bit of a bad time or don't feel they have anyone to talk to, that's what it's all about.
I think every employer knows, we all know from our own experience that, mental health is a real challenge across society, and our industry is no different. And one of the issues you have, especially in regional areas, is access to a psychologist. And if you go through your GP, you might be waiting 4 months or so to access a visit with a psychologist. Exactly. So we set the Stud Staff Support Line up last year, announced it last year. Anyone who's involved in the breeding industry can access up to 4 sessions with a trained psychologist, and literally you phone up the line and you can get scheduled an appointment within days. So it's a great asset for the industry, and I'd really encourage both employers to let their staff know about it, and staff to share it amongst their colleagues, because it's there, and we really want people to take it up and use it, and use it early rather than wait till people are really suffering. If they feel like they need to talk to someone, it's great to get on the front foot, and they can ring the line and speak to someone straight away.
And utterly confidential. I mean, this is the thing, I know, particularly blokes, I guess, and they're working, they're outdoorsy blokes and don't really want to talk about feelings and things, but it can do so much good, can't it? Just to have someone to bounce them, even a broken relationship or something going wrong. It's so important.
And that's it. So it's not just for work-related. We don't want people to come forward just with work-related issues. Just anything that's impacting your mental well-being. get on the front foot, make the call, and really, you know, do it early. Get in touch and, you know, talk things through. I think is a really positive thing, and that's where everyone sees the most benefit, really, I think.
The other really important thing too is TORG, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Welfare Working Group. You know, so much work has been done with Dennis Napthine and everybody that was involved, but where are we now in looking at what is actually achievable from some of the submissions that you received?
The TORG released its report in late November last year, 46 recommendations. You know, some of those recommendations aimed at governments, some of those aimed at industry, really looking at not just the end of horses' careers and transitioning out, but a really broad look on how we improve thoroughbred welfare across Australia. But the reaction to the report was really positive. Everyone who took the time to read it thought it was a great report, thought really good recommendations, but now comes the hard work of getting those in place. Now, as you say, there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes. I actually was in Canberra last week, and the federal government looking at those recommendations that are really aimed at governments to do. We have got government buy-in to really drive those recommendations. So that's things like bringing in enforceable minimum welfare standards for all horses. So this is a really sort of fundamental piece in saying, you know, how do we support the welfare of all horses across Australia? So government's now saying, you know what, we see the value of this, we've read the report, we're going to drive this. Another one is around standards, enforceable standards around abattoirs and knackeries. You know, obviously,
and that's a government issue, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know what? There's something the industry can't do. We can't go and regulate those businesses. So we need government. They're the right body to go in and regulate those properly. The TORG came about as a result of the 7:30 report, and you know the shocking footage we saw from an abattoir in Queensland and also from some knackeries. There are no standards, horse-specific standards, for those businesses at the moment. So that's a huge hole that needs to be addressed, and so it's great to hear government saying that now that's going to be a priority.
Whatever happens in the thoroughbred space helps all horses. I mean, you know, I know whether it be the Horse Council or different equestrian bodies are really wanting to kind of almost hitch a ride on whatever the thoroughbred industry can achieve.
Absolutely, and you know, I think you know, so much in the report wasn't just about thoroughbreds, but it was about saying, look, how can we better care for horses across Australia? And I think there'll be buy-in from all of those groups when they see that now we've got a bit of momentum with governments, they've read the report, they want to make action. And
there's also a lot of work being done too. I mean, AgriFutures, I guess some of these government bodies never really fully understood the thoroughbred breeding industry as an agricultural endeavour, which it 100% is, as we all know. So there's a lot of work happening in the space of, you know, whether it be research and development.
That's right. So all breeders make a contribution towards AgriFutures, which is a thoroughbred research and development levy. So all of that money, you know, if you've got a brood mare, each year you'll pay $10. It goes into this fund. Stallion owners pay $10 per covering too. And what that does is it generates almost $500,000. That then gets matched by federal funds. So we know that there's almost $1 million every year going to thoroughbred research. So there's a panel that sit there and make priorities around where that money is spent. And really they're focused on improving outcomes within the breeding industry particularly. So for example, a new project that's going on this year that TBA are helping to manage is around late-term fetal loss. So any mare that loses her pregnancy late in that pregnancy, there's a funding mechanism there to pay for those samples from those fetuses to be taken and then analysed and really allow the industry to have a much better understanding of these problems.
And over the years, there's been the fabulous meet and greet with all the federal politicians down at Parliament House in Canberra that I've really enjoyed being involved with. And you see everyone there, from Prime Ministers, opposition leaders, you know, all the agricultural ministers, the ministers with portfolios in regional areas. And it all really helps that lobbying. And you've had another recent win on that too.
Well, that's right. You know, it's so important that TBA is there speaking to politicians, because so many of the issues that we have as an industry have a government solution to them, or an element of government intervention. So yes, really pleased to announce that the Regional Investment Corporation, which is essentially a government bank that provides concessional loans to primary producers, all of its loans will now be open to thoroughbred breeders. So when the RIC, the Regional Investment Corporation, was established, they had a really tight definition of who could apply for a loan, and it was food or fibre. We went to the government over a year ago and said, you really need to review this. They eventually announced a review. You know, sometimes the wheels of bureaucracy don't always move as quickly. They announced a review, we went through a process, TBA made a really strong application and really pushed, you know, all sides of Parliament to say, look, we need to have access to this. David Littleproud, the Federal Agriculture Minister, his office phoned me just the other day to say that we will now have access to those loans, and which is a really big win. It's a win for, especially I think for new people in the industry, or young people, or people really wanting to expand, maybe to buy more land or to make a capital purchase, you know, to maybe improve their broodmare band. They'll be able to borrow money from the government at a reduced interest rate.
So there is, you know, so much work still to be done. I mean, and it is all very much, obviously, from the TBA point of view, on behalf of Australian thoroughbred breeders. Because, I mean, you look around, as you said, here at the Easter sales, this doesn't all just happen because we have an increase in prize money, or this has been going on for a long time. The level of professionalism in the industry, but we can always do more for the members of Thoroughbred Breeders Australia.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, our job at TBA is to make sure this industry is sustainable. You know, to make sure the challenges that we meet all the time, whether it's a staffing issue, whether it's a welfare issue, whether it's mental health within the workforce, that we're there, we're working, and you know, we've got an amazing industry, but it's essentially a collective of lots of small businesses. So there's an issue around scale. So we're there to say, look, how can we step in to those spaces and really drive the agenda on behalf of everyone?
Some great initiatives there, ensuring that the Australian thoroughbred breeding industry is well understood by the racing industry and by politicians, both state and federal. Coming up on Bred to Win, the Australian Racing Chaplaincy does wonderful work for people in need in the racing world. And we hear from Colin Watts in Arrowfield Studs, the horse who made you love racing.
Well, I actually grew up in harness racing. That's the family business. So the first horse I really remember was my dad's horses. One was an oligarch, I guess, that it's the first horse I can remember. But when it comes to thoroughbred racing, for me, the first horse I really took notice of was Saintly. I think it was partly because of Darren Beedman, partly because of the name, and I suppose winning the Melbourne Cup is probably the race that really stands out for me as the first horse and race in thoroughbred racing that really took my attention. Because I hadn't been to a thoroughbred meeting until I became chaplain, or until I joined the chaplaincy. So it was a new thing for me, thoroughbred racing, even though I'd grown up around horses all my life and been to harness racing all of my life. It was something new. So I've been doing that for 12 years now, so I've come to really love the thoroughbred racing as well. It was always around in our background, but I didn't pay much attention until this role. When I think about it, there's the thundering of the hooves. I think that really inspires me. That's one memory that comes, and then some of the horses, obviously. And also for me, it's really about the people. That's what I'm here for, that's what my role's about. So I get enjoyment out of watching horses of people that I know. And I know a lot of people, so it might be the trainer or the jockey or the owner even, it might even be the strapper. I get enjoyment out of their enjoyment of their horse winnings. That's really where it comes to for me. Horse-wise, obviously Black Caviar and more particularly Winks, I guess, are more recent horses, and occasionally I make a very special point and say, I want to watch this horse race. I think the most recent of those is Very Elegant. I think I've got to see a Very Elegant race, and so yeah, I'll make sure I see that race. I don't always get to see the races. I'm busy down in the stalls talking to people, so often the races go by and I don't even notice, but there are a few particular horses like that I think I'm not going to miss this one, and I go especially to watch them go.
That's where it translates, doesn't it? And you know, say Bart Cummings and Val May, and you know, yourself and dear old brother Dan, you've had such great contact with the Cummings family. We still see, you know, Ed and James at the racing mass, they're doing the collection plate and so on. I mean, there's a real link between racing and the chaplaincy, and it really gets back to the love of the horse and the people that love the horse that you look after.
Yes, my catchphrase is I care for the people who care for the horses, because that's what people do it for. I mean, you think of the hours they work and things like that, not just the strappers and such, but I mean the trainers work really hard hours too, and everyone does. And the only reason they do that, by and large, is they love the horse. And so that's what drives them. I even find people who leave the industry seem to come back to it because they miss the horses. That's what usually brings them back, most of all. You see sometimes strappers will go and do another job and they come back, I just couldn't bear to be away from the horses. Yeah, it's something I've grown up with, I guess, with being around horses, having stables out the backyard and always being amongst them and just watching them race is quite exciting.
The horse from heaven, Saintly. Could there be a more fitting favourite horse for Colin Watts? That is it for this edition of Bred to Win. Join me again next week as we hear from Henry Plumtree on all the latest news from New Zealand's wonderful Cambridge stud. Look forward to seeing you again then. I'm Caroline Searcy. Thanks for joining me this week on Bred to Win.